At this time, I'd like to bring our first guest on the show. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So no, I haven't gotten to see my kids.
I want to be clear, there is no truth to this story. That's how Bieber is responding to allegations made against him.
And I watched you lie, and then I
didn't punch you. By the way, I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. I was not punching you.
Don King was there for Mike Tyson's most important fight. Not in the ring, but in Judge Patricia Gifford's courtroom.
It was the most horrible time of my life. It was the most heinous day of my life because I go into prison, I lost my humanity, I lost my reputation, I lost everything that I worked so hard.
An allegation of sexual assault is being made against actor Jeremy Piven. Piven has unequivocally denied those allegations.
This alleged rape thing that was hanging over your head, what happened with that, though?
We all knew it was lies from the beginning,
Nick Carter still facing those allegations from Melissa Schumann.
We've all heard the story where these movie stars and these actors are accused of rape, sexual harassment, physical abuse, and it goes on and on and on. This is something that happens every day inside of Hollywood. But what about the normal mom and dad, the normal people out there? Do they experience these false allegations as well? According to the U.S. Census Bureau, from a study done in 2014, about 5 of every 6 custodial parents were mothers. That equals up to 82.5%. And 1 of every 6 were fathers, at 17.5%. Proportions were not that statistically different from those 20 years prior in 1994. On December 17, 2020, there was a survey conducted by YouGov that revealed 8% of Americans report falsely being accused of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, or other forms of abuse. This 8% figure represents 20.4 million adults. In 62% of those cases, the false accusers were reported to be females. Often, the false allegations was made in context of a child custody dispute. My name is Eric Carroll, and I am the host of Dad Talk Today. I started Dad Talk Today in the fall of 2019 in an attempt to raise awareness as to what fathers were facing in family court. I started putting out posts promoting the show and when it was going to kick off. Much to my surprise, by the time we did the first episode, we had gained 10,000 followers. I knew then I was onto something bigger than I had imagined. The first episode was on parental alienation, and at the time, I had planned on talking about several different topics. My next guest was a former guest on Joe Rogan and had nothing to do with family court, just a topic that I cared about. Following that episode, I started getting messages asking me why I wasn't talking about family court or parental alienation. While at first this upset me, I did my research and found these guys had nowhere to turn that was covering these issues. That topic was the reason I started this show. I just didn't know if it would have a big enough audience to carry it. I was wrong. That was the day I decided to expose family court for what it was and found my direction. Our main focus was on parental alienation and raising awareness as to what this is. When I first started, I thought maybe alienation was a rare occurrence. I was shocked to find out just how many people were experiencing this. Parental alienation is when one parent brainwashes the child and or children. Most of the time, this will be the custodial parent that will convince the child to not want anything to do with the other parent. This could be through lies. It could be by making them feel threatened to be with the other parent, or just completely denying the parent time with the child altogether. The way family court is set up often protects the alienating parent in doing so. It can be extremely hard to prove parental alienation is happening in court, although people who are educated on the subject can see it a mile away. Even the term parental alienation alone is frowned upon inside of family court. Family court makes more money than all of the other courts combined. It hides behind what is known as the best interest of the child standard, but seems most to be the best interest of their wallet. Over the years, many incentives have come along that give resources, mainly to single mothers, which in return, I believe, incentivizes fatherlessness. Title 4D is just one of these incentives. It was made after no-fault divorce came to law to offset the cost of how many parents were getting assistance from the government. Another is Section 8. Often the custodial parent will be better off financially without the father in the home. False allegations was a topic I was not exactly aware of when I started this. No one wants to think of a parent abusing a child either physically or sexually, and just the mere thought of it can drive someone crazy. For the longest time, I would go in the other direction when a parent told me they had experienced these types of false allegations. I could never forgive myself if I found out I was talking to someone who had actually done this. But then I started learning more on how many lawyers encourage this in family court because it automatically gives the accuser the upper hand. If I was in that situation, I would want someone to help me. The nickname for this amongst many people in the community is the silver bullet. It is the one thing someone can use that will give them the upper hand. It can be almost impossible sometimes for these parents to fight off these allegations, and in this country, we are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. The minute someone is accused of such acts, they are looked at as guilty until proven innocent. Afterwards, even if they can prove their innocence, their reputation will never be the same. In the past year alone, we have traveled to 42 states, attending many political conferences and capitals across the country. Our team has interviewed hundreds of legislators and educated them on these issues in hopes of getting legislation that makes a level playing field for parents that could be with equal shared parenting and consequences for false allegation. Our show is ran on a weekly basis. During the holidays, I will occasionally run marathons for alienated parents where they can come on the show and talk to us to help keep their mind off of not being able to see their kids. Thanksgiving 2020, there was someone that reached out to me that I had spoke to before. He let me know he was a follower of the show and supported us. He was also the first one of many to sign up for the holiday marathon to talk about his battle with family court. This father's name was John Mast. When I brought him onto the show, I knew he was in litigation. I told him not to say his full name and not to mention his kids' names. I would also not bring him on video, so he was free to talk to me without worrying about anything being used against him. John chronicled his experience on the show that day and told me what it had been like for him. After we got through, I turned the video off and brought him back on for a one-on-one conversation with me. John had been experiencing alienation for the past 3 years. He had fought off false allegations of sexual and physical abuse toward his kids and the mother. Around 6 months prior to that, John had been exonerated of all the charges, and he had proved his innocence. At the time he was on Thanksgiving, he had not been given a time of when he was going to be able to see his kids. There was an upcoming order where this was to change, and he was hopeful. This is the story of John Mast. John Allen Mast was born on November 5th, 1980, to Robert and Sarah Mast. He was the 8th child of what eventually became a family of 11 children. This size family was not uncommon among the Amish, which is what the Mast family was until 2004. John grew up on a dairy farm, where caring for the animals was a shared, consistent responsibility. The Amish lifestyle instilled in John a love for peace and a tendency to forgive rather than hold a grudge, as well as loyalty to what he believed in. As a young teenager, the family moved to Montana, where the vast outdoors was enjoyed by John. There, he also became a skilled metal worker, manufacturing band sawmills. John was well known for being gentle and exceptionally quiet. When he spoke, it was worth listening to. He thrived in thinking unconventionally, analyzing the opposite side of accepted norms. He was a great role model to his nieces and nephews. I traveled to Libby, Montana, where I met up with the family of John Mast. I've never met such a beautiful family in my life.
John, we've all recognized him as rather the quiet personality. He won't be the noisy one, but when he talks, he's thought things through. He'll say it like it is. Great character.
John's a quiet person. We do anything for anyone.
Best brother you could ask for. We grew up close, gentle, such a big heart. Quiet spoken, not a man of a lot of words, but when he did speak, he carried some weight.
Very independent, and he had this great way of always looking out for the people around him, and probably looking out for like if somebody was being bullied or being picked on, he was the first person to step up and say, I'll be your friend, that kind of person.
He looks sad. He's the kind of person that could look you straight in the eyes, deadpan, no facial expression, no tone of voice, say the most hilarious things. When I first met him, I wasn't quite sure how to take him. He was level-headed and the most drama-free member of our fire department.
He's like 7 years, 8 years younger than me, so it was just always just a solid guy. John was a quiet guy. As quiet as he was, he knew where he stood with things.
He was quite a bit older than I was, 10 years or so, and was just a fantastic brother, a mentor. He was a go-to for me, and had lots and lots of adventures, always carefree, fun, taught me how to ski, would take me to do things that I didn't have the opportunity to get into or to do otherwise, and I feel like I learned so much from him, and definitely have a lot of very, very fun memories with him.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, actually. He would say funny things and barely crack a smile. So, yeah, just a very, very easygoing, tender-hearted brother. I like him.
He was just this calm, level-headed guy, kind, and he was funny, always looking out for what you call the underdog. So John connected with those people.
He was the kindest person you could ever meet. Was always looking out for other people, unconcerned about himself.
Of him just being a very normal, a fun-loving child. Not especially given to mischief, but just enjoying the simple things in life, playing with his friends, and later turning into hobbies such as hunting, fishing, or whatever. Especially hunting, I would say.
My earliest memories would be we would just play and tussle and just do what little boys would do, just have fun in the house, the farmhouse there. Always be up to little boy things, chasing cats on the farm, or just running around.
Just that he loved to play and be with his Kayleen, Stephen, especially. Those three were especially close.
I love the way he always thought outside the box. You know, if a person tried to fit him inside a mold, like he should do life a certain way, that didn't work for John.
My earliest memory of John, probably when we lived on a farm. We lived on a farm and we would burn our, let's see, I think this is the earliest. We would burn our feed bags out in front of the barn. And we had a little fire going there. John and I were jumping over it. And one time John didn't quite make it and got his knee burned a little bit. But he tried to hide it from Mom and just went into the barn and kind of took care of it ourselves.
I remember being at home, being part of naming him, and when he was brought home from the hospital.
Some of my earliest memories of John, I remember on the farm in Pennsylvania, just hanging out around the barn. We had a dairy farm, we milked cows, just hanging around doing chores.
In the fire department, we trained a lot. We were big into training, and we were briefing about a maneuver we were getting ready to go do. And we were standing around, is any more questions? And John just piped up, again, deadpan, just look you straight in the eyes. You wouldn't see it coming. He'd say, well, we're going to just stand around and talk about it. We're going to go get it done. Just love it.
John got married on June 26, 2009. His daughter was born on January 30th, 2012, and his son on August 6, 2013. Everything seemed to be going great for John. He loved being married, and he loved being a father more than anything. Little did he know in 2017, his life would change forever. On October 13, 2017, there was an incident outside of a restaurant known as Basil's, where John's wife at that time would claim he physically assaulted her.
His wife alleged that he had grabbed her arm, caused shoulder damage to her, and abused her, basically.
5 days later, following that incident, John would be arrested. In November of 2017, he would be served with an ex parte protection order saying he can't come anywhere near his wife and his kids. How common is false allegations in family court?
It's common. It's become more common over the last 10, 20, 30 years. It's just devastating. It's violating.
All the accusations against him, that's just tough to hear when you know it's not the person that he really was.
John went to the restaurant and got the footage so when he went to court, he could say, "Judge, look for yourself. I didn't do any of the things that she said I did." Now, when John took that to court in December of 2017, the judge allegedly said, "We don't have anything to play that with, so I'm not allowing it in the court today." How do you not allow evidence inside of a court case?
The court battle, the court system, it seemed so unjust to us and so unfair. Nothing about it was the way it should be.
Because of this, John lost hope and he went ahead and pled guilty. He felt like the courts was against him, his wife was against him, and that nobody believed him.
Innocent people plead guilty to crimes they did not commit, and our system encourages it. Because your lives are disrupted. You're missing work. You can't take care of your kids. You're missing your daily obligation.
He just wanted it to be over so hopefully he could see his kids sometime soon. Fast forward a little bit of time later, when John goes to family court, there was a new judge assigned to the case that allowed that footage to be played. What did it show? What he had been telling them all along. He didn't get anywhere near her.
So he was able to play the video for the judge, and the judge in his order said, "I watched the video, there was no abuse there. And frankly, ma'am, that cast doubt on pretty much everything else you told this court today and killed her credibility." And that largely resulted in John being awarded temporary custody.
I always will remember those moments where you could see him light up. There was a little glimmer of hope, I believe, after that.
Now, that hearing was around April or May of 2018. The order that the judge signed saying all of that wasn't until late August.
Had that first judge did what they were supposed to do in the first place and allowed that evidence to be shown, we might not be talking about this today.
Well, it makes me think of that if you're a judge, if you sit on a bench and you can pass judgment over other people, it's a big responsibility. And does a judge in a circumstance like that have blood on his hands? He could. What I would love to see is whoever got this wrong, own it.
So John goes and gets his children, brings them back, and within 8 or 9 days later, mom is blowing up the phones to Williston County, CPS, and DHS, saying that John is a pedophile and who knows what else.
John got married in 2009. Keep in mind, up until October of 2017, he had never been accused of anything. After facing the false allegations and having to go to court, I believe he was fed up with it, and in January of 2018, he filed for divorce. 1 month later is when he would find out for the first time he was being accused of sexually molesting his children. 1 month after filing for divorce. Think about that. Child Protection Services, also known as CPS, has came under much scrutiny over the past few decades.
Focusing on the challenges facing Child Protective Services.
5 children were taken by the state last night.
They claim Child Protective Services is making a huge mistake by tearing apart a good family.
Tells us why some are now calling for an overhaul of CPS.
The I team has taken a closer look at how the system failed baby Joel and how it forever changed a once vibrant and healthy child.
Warning tonight from an East Dallas couple about their run-in with Child Protective Services.
Child Protective Services took their children. Now CPS is being ordered to pay that family more than $100,000.
More parents are reaching out to our show about CPS than ever before. It seems evident there's something going on. Sheriff Richard Mack is the former sheriff of Graham County, Arizona. He has had close dealings with CPS, not only as a sheriff, but with his family as well. I sat down to talk with him in South Dakota and ask him what is going on.
This quote, Child Protection Service in every state has become so Gestapo and Nazi-ish that I'm sorry, but the cure is worse than the disease. I admit that there are some abusive situations where you need to be involved, but nobody trusts you anymore because of all the other thuggery things you do in taking children out of homes that shouldn't.
The family law and the CPS, just what was intended to protect children, they're doing harm so many times.
It seems a lot like it's just a job, and so they need customers, which is these kids, to sustain their livelihood. So it's a money business instead of caring for the kids.
My initial thoughts were it's something I'd seen before, although this was pretty extreme, and that is just extreme parental alienation.
She is being so hard on him and impossible, and he's innocent. I knew he was innocent.
It was incredibly difficult. It was at times that was agonizing, I think, for us to feel the heartbreak that he had.
It was horrible watching the pain in his eyes.
I have 2 kids of my own, and I have many times tried to place myself in his shoes, and I don't know how he did it, how he got up every morning and kept fighting for him.
So they're pretty much compelled to open a juvenile case at that point. They pulled the children out of John's home, could not put them with mom because she lived in another state. So over the several weeks, he was fighting these allegations in juvenile court. The juvenile court did not want to keep the kids in foster care much longer.
Well, I thought that was horrible. I knew John was such a good dad.
Yeah, it was very, very frustrating.
So they had the choice of put them with mom or put them with this man that we have these allegations against, sexual abuse allegations that we haven't fully investigated yet. So the obvious choice was to put them with mom. Well, she used that from then on in the divorce hearing, once the juvenile case ended, to maintain control of the kids.
It's just very frustrating to see it get nowhere. No justice.
The biggest hole, the biggest pain I feel is the hole we had every day. And coming home to an empty house.
Him not being able to have his kids with him, was hard for us to see that.
You know, such a tragedy to have to go through that, to be able to do what he wanted to do, which was just being a dad with, to his 2 kids.
I can't fathom the pain, the mental pain that he went through.
I was livid. I would be I felt so hopeless. I just helpless and hopeless with the situation. I wanted to do something.
Very frustrated to hear him talk about what he went through, and this court order happened, and then it got shot down.
There's just little subtle things that give the children hints that the other parent is either not acceptable or bad, or worse, they're even evil.
We weren't allowed to hug them. Mommy said, no hugs.
He wasn't just fighting against the mother of the children, but he was also fighting the family court, the family law system, the courts.
The juvenile case ended eventually months and months later with no finding that John had sexually abused his kids in any manner. But the case just ended. After a year, it was dismissed.
Did John ever talk to you about his relationship?
He did occasionally. And he tried to, he would not necessarily paint her in a bad light. His one concern was always the kids. He didn't want the kids to know and find out that, you know, that mom was bad or come out with any animosity towards the mother.
No. He would never rail on his wife.
His heart was really pure, but also in hopes of, by almost protecting her or not, he would never mouth her.
He never trash talked. I thought that remarkable. Never heard him say a foul word about her ever. That's remarkable.
Never, not even since it's been so bad. In his love notes, he would say, I am fighting for you, Ashira, Zane, and Mommy. He had his struggles, but very few words on it.
But he wanted to spare us the heartbreak of this horrendous situation. How gracious that is.
I asked John's family what it was like seeing him go through these false allegations, and if they thought for 1 second he could do the things he was accused of.
Accusations, they were horrific.
There were allegations, started with domestic violence allegations. Those didn't stick. He was exonerated of those. And then it went into sexual allegations, first from the daughter. He was exonerated of that. And it also went to, then also to the son. My brother John was exonerated on all charges.
I think he felt shame that he would be even named as such.
It absolutely broke my heart to see him go through this, because I knew without a shadow of a doubt, there was never any doubt on the fact that he did not do any of these allegations, and they were completely false. There was no shadow of a doubt in my mind.
Who closer than his mother and father? We never for once did we doubt that John was innocent.
Never. He loved his children.
John was exactly the opposite of what he was accused of being.
Absolutely not. And just John's demeanor and the way he talked about his children, you could look at pictures very recent pictures between he and his children. His children were all over him. They loved him.
There's no way on God's green earth that John had any of that would have been true. It's unfathomable that he had to live with that.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, that's unbelievable that someone would make those allegations just to hurt him. It's the only reason. There's not a chance that they were true.
Knowing what you know about John, do you think there's any possibility he could have done the things he was accused of?
No, I don't believe so at all.
I do not believe that for 1 minute. That was not who John was. John was, in his core, he's a man of integrity. He's a good man that would only love and do what is best for his kids.
This was not something John was capable of doing, and it was later bore out in so many ways. Immediately, when the first investigation, he told the police, I'll do a polygraph, I'll cooperate with whatever.
He passed a polygraph test, he passed a psychosexual assessment, which tests people for sexual deviancy, such as pedophilia and that kind of thing. And he was off the charts on that testing that he would never do something like that. So I never doubted that he didn't do anything to his children.
And he came away with flying colors. No, he doesn't fit a sexual pedophile. We understood who John was, always gentle, just a gentle character.
He went through he did a polygraph. He did the sexual evaluation, but that still wasn't enough.
In some ways, my family is very supportive, so much that they've done, but they haven't been through this and they don't understand necessarily.
Do you feel like you fully understand or understood what John was going through?
No, I don't feel like I did. I tried, but I don't feel like I did.
I did not fully understand. I'll be honest, I did not fully understand. I thought I had a handle on it, but looking back after reading through his stuff, his notes to his kids, and just the many other little nuances, I'm realizing, no, I didn't. I only understood a little bit.
For myself as his brother, it was so deeply painful to not know what we could do, to not have a recourse of action. We tried to be there for him in every way we could. But you just wanted to right the wrong that was happening, and there was nothing really that we could or knew to do.
We hardly know how hard it was for him.
I'm not sure that anybody can understand fully, but I did know the allegations. We attended every court proceeding, especially every major one. If there was a very tiny or minor one we might have missed, but our intention was to be there every one. We agonized through every part of this process.
I would guess I understood 25% of what he was going through. And, I'm assuming I'm not assuming, I know I still don't fully understand what he went through, but just reading some of his love notes and different things, I know I only understood like I say, 25% of what he went through.
And spent 2 days there in the courtroom with him. We slept together in his house, and that was so good. I just saw John, he felt so loved. He was quiet, and he was just like, he didn't know what to do with that. So much support in one time. And we just loved on him and prayed with him and just said, we're going to pull through this. We're not going to stop fighting for this. And you could see him light up and feel accepted.
And these fathers that go through these false allegations, even if they prove their innocence, it seems like there's this black cloud over their head.
There are always people that will believe it. You can have everyone in the world come and swear and say this person did not do this, but there's always going to be people that believe that it happened. And
Robert Garza joined Dad Talk near the beginning in late 2019. This case struck very close to home with Robert, as he has been in his own battle facing over 43 false CPS allegations, and he beat every single one.
At first you don't believe it, then when it does set in, you can't believe that anyone ever believe him. It doesn't become real until you start getting protective orders, restraining orders. Then when you're supposed to pick them up, that's when it really sets in, because you're used to picking them up at a certain time or day and you can't get them. It's a feeling I hope nobody should go through, but too many of us do go through it.
Now, if you can prove your innocence, does that stigma go away?
No, it doesn't. I go to my kids' school and you can see people whispering or looking at you with doubt. But all you can do is hold your head up high.
Holidays are some of the worst times for alienated parents. This is time that they should be spending with their children.
At this time, I'd like to bring our first guest on the show. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Most of the time when they're not, it's because they're not being gave a chance.
There was one point of 9 months of no contact.
A very common thing that happens is right before the holidays, when they go to pick up the kids from school, they're hit with a temporary restraining order of either physical or sexual abuse accusations. And because it's the holiday, they can't get in touch with their lawyer until afterwards, and they lose that time with their kids. We refer to this as holiday hijack.
But I don't know, is it parental alienation you've experienced, child custody issues, family court? Tell us a little bit about what it is you've experienced.
Yeah, it's all of that.
It's a little trick they play. They call it the silver bullet for a reason.
They may not at all understand, and they may in turn end up judging you for whatever it is that may have led to the situation you're in.
I do this marathon on the holidays where these alienated parents can come on and speak with us to people that knows what it is they're going through.
The way I feel misunderstood, and I feel not important, undervalued as a father.
And so that they are not alone.
You just have to be really careful and pick some positive and uplifting people that will be there for you.
Thanksgiving 2020, John Mast was the first one to sign up.
Hey, John, how you doing this Thanksgiving, man?
I'm all right. How about you?
I had talked to John before, but one thing that always struck me different, usually when people reach out, it's because they want you to hear about their case, they want some solutions. John would write in periodically just to check on me and tell me to take care of myself. He would frequently share Dad Talks posts and give me words of encouragement. It's something I'll never forget.
Thanks for all you do, Eric. I really appreciate it. You're making a huge impact.
We get bombarded with messages sometimes, and I can't keep up with everybody's stories. You know, doing the marathons like this is a way that I can bring them on and they can tell me a little bit about what it is they are going through and struggling with.
My ex-wife and I separated, and pretty much from that point on, the kids have been separated from me.
That day, I told John I wasn't going to say his name. We weren't going to say the kids' names. I wanted to protect him because I knew he was in active litigation, and anything you say and or do will be used against you in court. So we kept him off screen and we brought him on. I wanted him to feel safe to talk to me about anything it was that he was going through.
Do you have any faith in the court system as it is right now?
No.
And that's
No.
sad. That's sad.
John had been exonerated in May, and now here it is, Thanksgiving. He still hasn't heard when he was going to be able to see his kids.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Eric, and thanks for all you do.
After that was over, I brought John back up on the screen to talk to me because I wanted to create a little bit more of a relationship, and I wanted him to know that I was there for him.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to edit this part out. I'm going to have that on there, but I appreciate you coming on, man.
It was so hard to hear what John was going through, but you know, that day, he was actually very hopeful. He seemed in a good mood. He knew that he had proved his innocence, and the following month, he was going to hear when he was going to be able to see his kids. It looked like everything was finally starting to turn around for John.
I think there's a final order coming up where things will get better.
That's what we thought.
I got a phone call from my brother John at about 11:08 in the morning, I believe. And he told me that he won't get to see his kids that evening. He was going to do that earlier, but then that was shot down by the mother of the children. But then the court again ruled in his favor and said the motion was denied by the mother. You get to see the children at 6 that evening. So he called me. He said, I won this motion. I get to see the kids.
I was here to be with him when we got word that he gets to pick up his children for the first time that evening, unsupervised for parenting time. It was supposed to start at 6 o'clock on Friday night.
I said, John, do you need anything? Is there anything you need? I can drive up. I live about 4.5 hours from here. I can come give you a hand.
So when I got word that day, I knew I had to be here.
He said, no, I got it, Steve. I can handle it. You don't need to come. But I did end up coming.
So I came down, got here about 10 till 6.
We need to come and be with John.
And he asked me to record.
He did come into my car then. We were a little bit early.
So it's all caught on camera.
But he did just tell me that he was happy I got here.
But yes, I knew I had to be here.
Got an email. It's about 5:45. And it was from the mother of the children, and she said, yes, we will be there at 6. She was confirming the time. This was not typical of the mother to ever confirm and cooperate with the time.
But before I had a chance to start recording,
he always had to watch his back.
At like 5:54, I saw that she must be here because I recognize the Suburban.
We talked about the logistics of getting the kids.
And I was coming down from up there from my brother's vehicle.
And I told her that we need to be there.
I was standing right here by the van, and John was beside me.
And instead of the mother bringing the children, the ex-father-in-law showed up.
And Jim walks around the front of the van and starts shooting. Says, "Hi, John," and starts shooting.
On the night of February 5th, 2021, John Mast arrived to the Rosauers parking lot in Lewiston, Idaho, where he was set to pick up his kids. Upon arrival, he noticed his sister Betty and brother Stephen were there just to keep an eye on things. He told them everything would be okay. He then saw a car pulling up that belonged to his ex-wife. When he turned around, John was met by his ex-father-in-law, Jim Brashear, who says, "Hi, John," and then proceeded to shoot him 3 times.
This was the scene Friday night, February 5th, moments after 6 o'clock. This is where investigators say James Brashear fatally shot his daughter's ex-husband, John Mast. Police say Mast was shot 3 times. Mast was taken to St. Joseph Regional Medical Center, where he later died. Reporting from the newsroom, Justin Spinney, KLEW News.
The best I could remember was 2 shots and a pause and another shot. I think at that point, John ducked and ran up for cover. By that time, I was on the phone with 911, kept my eyes here on Jim. John made it up, ran up and made it to cover. I headed back up to see if he's okay, to see what's happened. And at that time, my brother was with him and had caught him on the way down. And I held his hand and I said, "John, fight. Shira and Zane need you. Stay with us, fight." And he squeezed my hand, called my mom.
We had a call and Betty said, "Mom, Jim just shot John."
They called. They had said that he got shot.
And Betty said, "Is there something you would like to say to John?"
We started gathering stuff, hoping it was not serious.
I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and I always check my phone.
When I got the phone call, I was just in complete shock.
My first thought was, I couldn't believe it.
You try telling yourself, this is a bad dream, this is not real.
I never knew that John's case was as serious as the news that I was being told.
My first thought was, he's gonna make it. Like, this is unreal. This is not the way he was supposed to go, and he is gonna make it.
When I got the phone call, you immediately, your mind kicks into that, it can't be real.
It was the most devastating moment of my life.
And another call came briefly, and they said, "Pray harder."
It was agonizing, probably the most painful thing that I've ever experienced or gone through.
It took, some time for it to soak in that there is actually something serious going on.
And I'm sorry, I yelled into the phone. I was so in anxiety.
And I said, "We love you, John. We love you, John."
And his mother and I both said, "John, we love you."
And John squeezed Betty's hand. So we know he heard it.
And then getting the call that he didn't make it, it was complete shock.
I can't even put it into words.
I was just ready to hit the road when I got the phone call saying that he didn't make it.
Absolutely. The most agonizing, excruciating pain in my heart.
How does one deal with such an unjust way of dying?
It was, of course, the most tragic news we could ever have heard.
We were so undone. I lost it on the phone.
I dropped to the ground in the middle of the cul-de-sac of where I lived and just didn't think I could make that drive.
There's no words for it. There's no words for it.
I think I bottled a lot of it in for a few hours after I found out. I was angry, I was mad, I was hurt, I was sick to my stomach.
Just just unbelievable that someone would do that to John. Such a good person, good, soft-hearted, tender person. Just, it's unreal.
It's just like, no, John fought so hard. And just to end this way, the injustice is like unbelievable.
We stopped everything we were doing. We were supposed to be going to Michigan to start on a documentary, and I wanted to be there with the family documenting. The media hardly ever gets these stories right, and they never want to report on it until it's something that's extreme. And I knew that John needed us now more than ever. Even though he wasn't here, he needed us to be his voice.
That's what's so hurtful and so hard, because this is the guy that did it the right way, and look what happened to him. And I believe, though, there will be justice out there for everyone that was involved, and that's what kind of keeps me going right now.
When I stood over him in that casket, guys, I knew then my life would never be the same. And my only thought was, I'm ready to go to war.
Upon news of John being murdered, our team stopped everything we were doing and was ready to help any way we could. We were set to start filming in Michigan on another case that week and canceled all those tickets to reroute. I left at 4 o'clock the next morning and flew to Salt Lake City, Utah, where I met Robert and flew into Spokane, Washington. John's court case went down in Williston, North Dakota. He was murdered in Lewiston, Idaho, and his funeral was in Libby, Montana. We wanted to make sure to visit every one of these places that while we were there. When we arrived, we were shocked to experience the coldest weather either of us had ever been in. It was minus 30 degrees. There were no gas stations in sight for hundreds of miles, and the 3 times we did stop for gas, the pumps froze on us while doing so. Our first stop was in Libby, Montana to meet the family. All of us were still in shock, but wanted to make sure we were there documenting everything that was going on so that John's story could be told and so we could pay our respects.
So this book return right here is the exact spot they agreed to meet to exchange the children. So we built a little memorial here. And this shows a picture of John with Ashira and Zane at their home in Williston, North Dakota. And he did have the kids then for a little bit. In this window, there's a candle, a plug-in candle that John lit at that time, and he would talk to me about. And this was a candle for the children that he said he was going to keep burning for them till he has them again.
So the next day after it happened, Saturday, we got to John's apartment and found 4 journals that he had left for his children that he had kept writing in. The journals helped us see the battle and the pain that John carried, and the dad that he was. His children were what he lived and breathed day and night, and he kept going for them. And this was April 6, 2018. Zane, my heart breaks for you, son. I hear you. The pain within me has grown so great and so loud. I will never stop fighting for you and me and Ashira. When you read this, please understand I am doing all I can within my power to be your daddy. But stronger forces than me are keeping us separated. I'm so sorry. I know your pain is deep. Remember me no matter what. All my love in this life and the next life. We will meet again.
Our crew traveled to Williston, North Dakota to seek answers as to what happened in John's case. When we arrived to the Williams County Courthouse, we asked to see the judge who was over John's case. We were not granted that request. We were able to get a case summary and take a tour of the courthouse. This is where the trials of John Mast happened, and the feeling was all too surreal, standing in the very place he had not long before this defending himself against these false allegations.
We can make his story live on. At some point, we've got to be the movement that we were called to be.
Just think, if this were you, or if it happened to you, what would you want others to do?
Like, I can't even begin to imagine what the pain is like that's going through their hearts right now. I can't begin to imagine how those kids are feeling. They're allowing us to come in to tell his story, and it's quite honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
It's going to be a long, hard weekend for sure.
Think that John knew something like this was possible?
Yes.
Oh, we definitely did. We definitely did. John had made a few remarks. I'd seen a little bit of email writing. I knew that John at times was just terrified as to what he should do. He wanted the children and yet felt threatened.
The family's talked about that quite a bit. I think there are some premonitions there just in some of the things some of the comments he made, whether it was to coworkers or friends or family, in the days or weeks ahead of when this happened.
You know, I've thought a lot about that the last few days, and I think it's easy to say, oh yeah, I could see that coming. I did not think that would happen.
I don't think he fully knew that it was going to happen, but he made it clear that the possibility is there.
I think John wanted to believe that this would never happen, you know, that somebody that he used to have a relationship with wouldn't take things this far.
I do believe so. We were concerned with him, and we heard from time to time, I think his ex-wife mentioned that a threat at one point, and his father-in-law said something to the effect that he'll do whatever it takes. He'll kill you. I'll kill you.
This was contentious. There was a lot of bad blood, but it was still shocking when it happened. That's the only way I know to answer it. I think other people weren't shocked, but for me personally, I was just shocked by it.
I do. And I'm not sure. I try to rationalize how he processes. I try to wrap my mind around that. John, how were you feeling? Were you scared? Why didn't we have a bulletproof vest? We all were scared for his life.
He openly told me that the threats were made, and he believed it could happen. I mean, he just, told me plain words that the threats have been made.
And he did know that this could happen. We and him did know how volatile Jim's character was, and the temper and so on. So he did always know this could happen. So I think part of him saying, don't come, was for my safety. But I did end up coming. I got off the phone and I thought about it, talked to my sister about it, and I told her that we need to be there. We need to come and be with John for this
Lord,
time.
I pray you would open the way. Go before us, Lord, as we seek after the well-being, the mental, emotional, spiritual health of these children. Lord, we pray for our lawmakers, both statewide and nationally, that there could be an awareness and a move that would further protect the innocent, whether it's children, whether it's mothers, whether it's fathers. Lord, that our system we declare it is ripe for overhaul. God, we ask you in the middle of this, Lord, bless every one of these that stand with John. Bless all these as they travel, coming here, going home. Bless them that you would put on their hearts to continue to stand and pray. Lord, we give you the honor. We give you the glory. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
You were telling me an interesting story about a court case that took place.
John Mast, he was met by his ex-father-in-law who shot him 3 times and murdered him.
Tell us a little bit about this case where the father was murdered.
I had a father that came back on in November. He's met by his ex-father-in-law that shot him 3 times. In the case that you showed right before I came on, John Mast, that was a father that had been fighting for 3 years that had faced
John Mast gathered outside the Nez Perce County Courthouse this morning to honor him and continue his fight against parental alienation.
This was his mission that was not completed, to further the cause of children being wronged.
Kevin Hickey, a custody attorney of 21 years, alleges this was the case in Mast's situation. It's Mast's ex-wife's family accused him of child molestation, but the Nez Perce County Prosecutor's Office says he has never been criminally charged. Eric Carroll says this is more common than you'd expect. He runs a podcast called Dad Talk, where he and Mast chronicle the custody battle.
I haven't seen the kids in 2.5 months, in spite of a court order to try and get me involved in the kids' lives.
For John's family, his memory lives on in their new mission. His father says they've even found the strength to forgive. A preliminary hearing for James Brashear is set in Nez Perce County District Court for April 14th at 1:30 p.m.
And several years ago, I started hearing a phrase that was thrown around by football teams called next man up. And what that means is we can't let, when our starter goes down, we can't let that impact our morale. We can't let that kill our heart, because we're here on a mission. We're a team, and we've got to carry on as a team. And all of you here, that's what we are. We're the next person up. John was the starter. He was the star, and he was the starter, and it was his heart, and it was his passion to do everything and support every cause that is on every one of these signs that we have. And it's up to us now. And it's up to us to do what we can with the legislature to make changes, to do what we can legally, and to do what we can with just telling John's story. Anybody that will listen, anybody that you can talk to, he is not going to die in vain. His story is going to be told, but it's got to be told by somebody. And that starts with everybody that's here, everybody that's listening out there. We are the next people up. And I would challenge all of you, whenever you can tell that story, and do what you can to further John's causes. Those need to become our causes. Because I do believe he's looking down.
To do all we can to let them know how much their daddy loved them.
Sharon Zane.
Bring memories back to Sharon Zane.
I want to really tell you how much your daddy loved you. He loved you so much.
He loved him so much.
He was a great daddy, and I can honestly tell them that.
Always fighting for the best of the kids.
Just want to tell you, your dad, he loved you.
John, my brother John was a good man. He was a good man.
Your daddy was a good man.
Your daddy loved you more than anything in the world.
John loved you without reservations.
It was an unending love. He loved you guys 24 hours a day.
Their dad loved him so incredibly much.
Your daddy loved you so much.
Every breath of his life was spent fighting for his children.
That's why he fought to get them. That's why he fought the court system. And
He fought until his last breath to be in your life.
And everything that was against him, everything was against him.
Always fought for you guys.
He basically gave his life for you, and he was willing to do that.
You were his life.
He wanted so much to hold you,
Looking out for them, doing whatever he could.
to hug you,
He lived to see you guys.
to kiss you,
And they will know with time when they get older.
to play with you,
He would want them to know that, and I know they're going to find this out.
to love you.
He loved them like I've hardly ever seen.
And he was denied that.
Zane, your dad is proud of you. He loves you.
He fought so hard, as you will see one day in his journals.
He was so hurt and lonesome for you.
And Ashira, and you were his shining star.
Always trying to do what was best for you guys.
That's what killed him. He was so lonesome.
I'm thinking they will have questions.
And none of the allegations are true. They're all false.
He did not do what he was accused of doing.
He paid the ultimate price.
Like he said in the letters, I'm fighting for you.
He gave his life.
Bring that memory to your forefront. That memory was true. That was your daddy.
It was like 24 hours a day that they were on his mind.
He would just want them to be safe and loved.
I think he would do it all over again, even if he knew the end result.
John Mast lost his life fighting for his children. While his life may have been murdered, his fight just experienced a new birth. It's time we become the movement we were called to be. How many parents, how many kids, how many lives must we lose for people to wake up? John Mast was a father that did it the right way. He did what the system told him to do, and it still failed him. We are his voice now. We are the ones who can keep his memory alive and fight to change the system for the future generation. Now is the time to stand for what you believe in. Stand for the innocent. Stand for the broken. My name is Eric Carroll, and I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John. Stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John. I stand with John.
Stand with John. I stand with John. Stand with John. I stand.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John. I stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John. Stand with John.
Stand with John. I stand with John. I stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John. Stand with John. I stand with John. Stand with John.
I stand with John.
We stand with John.
We are John's voice now. We will continue the story. And don't forget, you never know who just may be watching. Struggling through it. Are you getting to see your kids at all?
So I have a court order saying that I have unlimited access to them through Zoom, video, telephone. But And it's 6 months and she has not allowed it. And we had some other court events. And this order is from coronavirus. So the in-person visits, she's exploited the coronavirus to no extent, to a pretty hefty extent there. So no, I haven't gotten to see my kids in 2.5 months. I did see them some over the summer. I think there's a final order coming up where things will get better.
COVID-19 was the biggest present an alienator could have ever received.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Even like, I'll tell you this one more thing. I'm laughing about it now because I have friends around me and I'm happy in my life. But I would give them, during some of my visits over the spring and summer, I'd give them some gifts. Kids couldn't receive them. They either threw them away, or when they did see something they kind of liked, it was from China. So even then they couldn't receive some of those gifts because of COVID, and possibly a germ would be on there from China.
I remember when that was going down, dude.
Thanks for all you do, Eric. I really appreciate it. You're making a huge impact.
Well, brother, I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna get a couple more of these together. I'll edit it and have it up tomorrow. And good thing about stuff like this, even though I didn't say your full name, you didn't say your kid's name, you can always show this to your kids. I have to work around it. Some of these guys want to come in here and tell all their details about their case. That can get them in trouble. It can get us in trouble, and it's not really smart for them to do it. But
at this point, thanks, Eric, for being respectful there. But at this point, I'm just not concerned about it. I mean, my case has been a nightmare and really a joke. And it's a shame that our society and our system of government is like this. It's really, really bad. My kids are, especially my son, is really, he's a broken boy, and it really bothers me.
Are you doing any advocacy work or volunteering for any of the organizations right now?
As much as I can. If anything, I do something for you. And I'm still kind of in the thick of it, going towards the end of things, I think.
Right.
But at some point, I sure don't want to forget what I've been through. I sure don't want to lose that motivation, because on one side of me, I'm very angry. I'm so angry, not necessarily outwardly or in a bad way, but I'm really motivated to really make a difference at some point, to possibly run for office or at least do some pretty good advocacy work.
It's what we need, man. I'll be honest with you, though. When you get into the politics, I hate politics. I just started going and meeting with these guys earlier this year. They don't care. You mention Title 4D to them, and they think that they're going to lose money. It's out.
I had a meeting. Yeah, I agree with that. I had a meeting with just a local state representative a year ago, and he wants change, maybe, but maybe he just let on like that. But he said as soon as we start touching that, even at the state level, there's no change coming at all, is basically what he said.
That's it, man. Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also super chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.